Hello! Greetings, ladies and gents. Chess has been known to be one of the oldest games in the whole world. It has been modified, changed, and enhanced for the society. I've been playing this game since I was kindergarten, and until now, it's one of my favorite hobbies other than writing. But enough of that, because we, Group Number 1, under the supervision of our wonderful coach Bulai, consisting of Khryzelle Lorilla, Fritz PACSON, Hideaki KATO, CUENCA, Alisa Ponsaran, and me, Ethan MANGUBAT, will be educating you about this wonderful game called chess.
So, hello, good morning. We're going to talk about the history of chess. Chess history can be traced back around 1,500 years ago. It traveled to Persia from there and then spread throughout the Asian continent. Chess made its way via expanding Islamic Arabian Empire to Europe. In 15th century, chess changed numerous times, survived sanction by Christian Church as well as complete prohibition from time to time. In 1880s to 1950, this is known to be the era of chess. Chess players mainly relied on tactics, sacrifices, and extremely dynamic play. In 1997, the 20th century revolutionized chess with the invention of databases and chess engines.
So now, let's go on to the different equipments you'll be needing to play chess. To play chess, you're gonna be needing two main things. The first one is, of course, your chessboard, and the second one are chess pieces. Although, if you're into competitive play, then you're gonna need an additional thing called a chess clock. So let's start it off by talking about the chessboard. So what is the chessboard? As you can see over here, this is an example of a wooden chessboard. It's a tournament-sized chessboard, and chessboards are made up of 8x8 grids, resulting into 64 alternating colored squares. 32 of these squares are light squares and the other 32 are dark squares. These squares are identical in size, and the board itself should measure the same on all four sides.
When the chessboard is set up to start the game, half of the squares are occupied by the pieces, while the middle 32 squares are left open for play. For over-the-board or OTB tournament play, there are different specifications to keep in mind. The United States Chess Federation, or the USCF, states that square size should be anywhere from 2 inches to 2.5 inches, where the standard USCF tournament set has 2.25 inches squares, while the World Chess Federation, or the FIDE, says that the square size for competitive play should be between 1.97 inches to 2.36 inches. So for chess pieces, each player has 6 different types of pieces, which are 8 pawns, 2 rooks, 2 knights, 2 bishops, a queen, and a king. These are movable objects used on a chessboard to play the game of chess. Chess pieces are distinguished by appearance and made of rigid materials such as wood, ivory, or plastic. Pieces are of contrasting colors, commonly white and black. Finally, the chess clock. Chess clocks are distinctive with 2 timers built into one unit, one for each player. The 2 clocks are never running simultaneously but rather keep track of each player's time used and keep track of the total time each player takes for their own moves. This ensures that neither player overly delays the game. This keeps a chess game moving at a desired pace since both players will be motivated to use their time well for the completion of all their moves in the game.
So as mentioned earlier, chess clocks are used in all sorts of tournaments, but it's not only used in chess, as chess clocks can also be used in other 2-player games where players move in turn. So now that we've gone over the different equipments you need for chess, let's start talking about each individual pieces in chess and how they move.
Hello, so now we're going to talk about the chess piece pawn. The pawn is a very common chess piece on the chessboard. it consists of 16 pieces. Yeah. So how does it move? It moves one space forward at a time, as a pawn is the only piece that may never move backward. But so it's kind of tricky for beginners. But the first move, a pawn move, has the option of moving 1 square forward or 2 square forward. It's capturing, the way it kills or captures another chess piece is that the pawn is the only one of the chess piece that can capture other pieces in a method that's different from how it normally moves. The pawn captures by moving 1 square diagonally to the left or right.
And now we go for the bishops. As you can see, the bishops are always placed beside the royalties, beside the king and beside the queen. They're always there as acting advisors in real-life royalties. But in a chess game, they play a huge role in attacking corners and attacking diagonally, as they move diagonally, like a pawn, but longer. They only attack on sides of the squares that they are placed on. They cannot move forward like pawns, but they attack like pawns. There are two types of bishops. We have the light squared, where the bishop only lands on light square tiles. And we have the dark squared bishop, where it only lands on dark tiles. And that is all for the bishop.
The knight, commonly represented as the horse. This piece moves in a pattern similar to the uppercase letter L. Did you know that the knight is the only piece in chess that can jump over another piece? It moves 1 square left or right horizontally, and then 2 squares up or down vertically. Or it moves 2 squares to the left or right horizontally, and then 1 square up or down vertically.
So now let's talk about the rook. So the rook is the most simple moving chess piece on the board. Their movements are only straight, moving forward, backward, or side to side. At any point in the game, the piece can move in any direction that is straight ahead, behind, or to the side. An easy way to remember the movement of a rook is that it moves like a plus sign. The rook piece is also the only piece on the board that can participate in a castling move with the king piece. This is a move where the king piece and the rook piece work together, allowing the player to move 2 pieces at the same time.
Hello my friends! Now we're gonna talk about the king. So what is the king? The king is the most important part of the game because you need to protect it with all of your duty. So what is the moves of the king? The king moves exactly 1 square horizontally or vertically or diagonally depending on your move. A special move that only the king can do is called castling. It's only allowed 1 player per game.
The king might be the most important piece in the game, because without the king, there will be no ruler. But the title of the powerful piece does not go to the king, but rather to his partner, the queen. The queen can move forwards, backwards, sideways and diagonally, like a king. We can also refer to the 2 minor pieces, which is the bishop and the rook. Horizontal, vertical and diagonal, those moves on the chessboard. The only thing that a queen cannot do is jump over pieces.
Made up of an 8x8 grid, it consists of 64 parts, each a small square, in their totality composing a large square. In 8 rows and perpendicularly in 8 lines, the 64 squares are ordered. The size of each individual square is identical, and the board should measure the same on all 4 sides. When the chessboard is set up to start a game, half of the squares are occupied by the pieces while the middle 32 squares are left open for play. For over-the-board tournament play, there are different specifications to keep in mind. The United States Chess Federation states that the square size should be anywhere from 2 inches to 2.5 inches, where the standard USCF tournament set has exactly 2.25-inch squares, while the World Chess Federation says that square size for competitive play should be between 1.97 and 2.36 inches. A name has been given to every one of the 64 squares. Accordingly, the 8 lines running upwards are successively designated by the numbers 1 to 8, and the 8 rows running from left to right are successively designated by the letters A to H. The A line, B line, through the H line is therefore a certain line. The first row, second row, through the 8th row is a certain row. Since each squares belong to one line and to one row only, its line and row unambiguously designated. In the initial position setup, the light queen is positioned on a light square and the dark queen is situated on the dark square.
The first rule of chess is to make sure your pieces are in a proper placement. The king is always on the e-file and the queen is always beside him. Beside these two royalties are the bishops. Then we have the knight, the rook, and the pawns always at the front. The same thing you can say for the opposite color. The king is on the e-file and the bishops, the queen are on its side. The knight, the rook, they're always there as same as white. Okay, so the second rule of chess, if you can see here on my right, I have a phone, but this one acts as a chess clock. 5 minutes for each player. Now, why do we need a chess clock? They are used in chess so that the two players can have tracking on their time to make their own move and ensure that both of them are not delaying the game because it's a strategy. The players may take more or less time over any individual move. Now, the third rule of a chess game is proper sportsmanship. This is very vital in every aspect of sports or in every aspect of games. Proper sportsmanship is when you are losing and you offer to shake your hand in resignation. This is, of course, is not to be ashamed of because losing is not meant to be failure but a lesson to learn. For in-game chess terms, there are terms like en passant, castling, and promotion to be used. It is very vital for the strategy of the game. As you can see, my pawn is right here on the e5 tile. Black pushes his pawn forward in response to f5. As you know, a pawn can move 2 tiles forward in the beginning. An en passant is used when your pawn takes this other pawn on this side, because this pawn is still considered to be a part of this tile, even though it has moved here. The next term you have to understand is castling in chess. Now, you can see here on the white side, there are no minor pieces between them. Therefore, the king can be subjected to castling. This is called the kingside castling. It is for defensive plays. Now we have the next type of castling called the queenside castling. 2 tiles away from the other side. This is when you plan to be offensive. But for general, in a tight game of chess, it is always subjected to move the king to this side for safety, as this pawn and this piece will be unprotected later. Now, there are things that you may not do when you're castling. If you look at the king side, you cannot castle when a piece is blocking your way. Let's say the bishop moves here, and we have a bishop, enemy bishop, aiming at this tile. Does it make them castle? No, they cannot. Because if the king castles, the king dies. So therefore, if that tile, if any of the tiles between the kings is threatened by an enemy piece, that king cannot castle. In the same time, a king cannot castle when it's checked. Check. The king may not subject to castling as this is illegal. Therefore, the king can only respond by blocking the piece, which gives them the chance to now castle, or just moving away. The next term you have to understand in chess is called the promotion. Promotion only happens when a pawn reaches the very end of the chessboard. Remember, a pawn cannot move backward, it can only move forward. So once a pawn reaches that very end of the table, of the chessboard, it has the right to become wherever it wants. It can be a bishop, a rook, a knight, or even a queen. The same you can say for the white piece. As the piece moves to the far end, it has the right to become a bishop, a knight, a queen, or a rook, to give you that advantage.
Now, we're gonna talk about the 3 most well-known chess players here in the Philippines. I won't discuss anything about this too much, but let's begin with the most famous icon in the chess industry here in the Philippines. It is Wesley So, or Wesley Barbasa So. He was born on October 9, 1993. He's a Filipino-American chess grandmaster and currently world feature random chess champion. He is a 3-time Filipino chess champion and 2-time US chess champion in 2017 and 2020. He is a former chess prodigy, so became the youngest player to pass 2,600 ELO rating in October 2008, breaking the record previously held by Magnus Carlsen. This record was since been broken by John M. Burr in early 2013, so past 2,700 in January 2017, he became the 11th player to pass 2,008 ELO. Okay, and the second well-known player here in the Philippines is Eugene Torre. Eugene, or Eugenio Torre, he was born on November 4, 1951. He's a Filipino chess player, and in 1974, at 22 years old, he became the first Asian to qualify for the title Grandmaster by winning the silver medal in 21st Chess Olympiad in Nice, France. Okay, he is considered the strongest chess player the Philippines produced during 1980s and 1990s, and played for the Philippines on board 1 in 17 chess Olympiads. In a tournament in Manila in 1976, Torre was then the only one to beat the 10 reigning world champion Anatoly Karpov in a game that has become part of the Filipino chess history. In 1982, he gained a spot in the World Chess Championship candidates matches, where he lost to Zoltan Ridley. He served as the Bobby Fischer second in the 1992 match against Boris Spassky in Yugoslavia. Okay, let's go to the last player. I also don't know this guy. His name is Mark Paragua. Mark Caliano Paragua was born on March 29, 1984. He's a Filipino chess grandmaster. He was also a Filipino chess champion in 2012. At the day of 1998 Disney World Rapid Chess Championship for Kids, held November 15 to 17 at Euro Disney Theme Park in Paris. Paragua and Bu Shangji each finished first with 7 1-up points in the boys and 14 and under section, with Paragua taking the gold medal on tie-break points. He was the youngest Filipino master ever at 9 years of age He also became the youngest Filipino Grandmaster at 20 until Wesley So surpassed it, beating Eugene Torres' record by about 2 years. Paragua became the first Filipino to reach 2,600 FIEE after he placed second in the Asian Zonal 3.3 Chess Championship in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. And that's all what we need to know. Thank you, friends, for listening. I love you all.
So Mr. Snorkels and I were discussing about famous international chess players. Well, these are chess players that are notable for their experience on the game of chess and presumably with their amazing cognitive abilities regarding their skill to predict at 8 moves ahead. Like chess engines. Fun fact, chess engines can only predict till 8, and these super grandmasters, they are what they are called, are notable to even predict moves that are 8 moves ahead. So let's start with our favorite one. So the first one that I would like to share is Magnus Carlsen. He is the current World Chess Champion with a FIDE rating of 2,862, the highest in all of the modern chess players. He is notable for his ability to play blindfold chess in a simultaneous game. So he's playing blindfold chess in at least 5 or more than 5 different boards while blindfolded. So he tries to memorize the board by playing it inside his head, and someone informs him the moves or what's happening while he plays it inside his head. So he plays it in the same time against these people. He has been doing it from a young age too. He became Grandmaster in April 2004 in Dubai Open Chess Championship. He was just 13 years old at that time, making him one of the youngest Grandmasters in the world. The second chess player that I would like to share is Hikaru Nakamura. He's a very well-known chess player. He has a Twitch and he of course streams them online. He's born Japanese but lived and grew up in the United States and even has a United States citizenship. He now represents the United States in international chess games, not Japan. He is notable for his speed calculations, his ability to think very quickly and respond very quickly, and has been the speed chess champion for a long time, which is to play under 1 minute. Yeah, it's called bullet chess. He is a 5-time US champion, claiming the title in 2005, 2009, 2012, 2015, and the recent one, 2019. Nakamura was also a participant in FIDE's 2004 World Championship tournament and a candidate for the World Championship in 2016, meaning he has faced Magnus Carlsen in a game of slow chess, of course. So none can forget this chess player because recently he has beaten Magnus Carlsen in the Skilling Open, which gives him the opportunity to become a chess candidate for the World Championship, meaning that he will be facing Magnus Carlsen again for the world title, for the World Championship title. Isn't that interesting? And this person is none other than Wesley So, a Filipino-American super grandmaster who is among the world's best chess players. He began as a chess prodigy who entered tournaments at 9 years old, and at 14, he became the 9th youngest grandmaster in history. He also became the youngest player to pass the 2,600 rating threshold, breaking Magnus Carlsen's record. Even though that he may have had the rate decline, he was able to remain as one of the top chess players in the whole world. And those are my top 3 international players that I would like to share with you all. Thank you.
So as we all know, chess is a long storied history. The game has changed quite a bit from its earliest forms in India. The modern iteration we enjoy today wasn't known until the 16th century, and there were no clocks and the pieces were not standardized until the 19th century. Either way, chess remains to be something that many people around the world enjoy up to today, and we hope that through this video, we were at least able to inform beginners out there who might be quite intrigued with chess, and thank you so much for listening.